Welcome to the Coach V Show, your Hollywood radio show for personal development with expert insights and interviews to help you, me, and we work to be our best and live our best life. Offering for your consideration these success frameworks, behavioral models, and life lessons that if you should find value in them, that you subscribe and deploy all over your life, leadership, and business. Here on the Coach V Show, where iron sharpens iron, together we rise, powered by the Island City Media Group, where the beach meets the streets. And today, as you recognize, we are coming in from now Famecast, a creator brand and accelerator space here in Santa Monica, California. Today, we are super juiced to have Benjamin Powell, the co-founder of his company, with over 30 plus years in the beauty industry. Benjamin Powell, a lead international stylist, has graced us with his work in many capacities in the hair and beauty industry. Benjamin Powell hails from the Fiji Islands with maternal connection to Tonga and paternal connections to Fiji. But Tonga, we claiming Ben today. Since he's on the Coach V Show, we're claiming him all the way. Shout out Fiji, shout out Samoa, where Benjamin started his journey in 1988 as a fashion merchandising student at LA Trade and Technical College. He later transferred to Citrus College in pursuit of the world of hair and beauty. His career has spanned across several opportunities, from 17 years with the Regis Corporation, a Fortune 500 company at the time based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. He was a regional sales director for the San Francisco market for 10 years. And the last 7 years, he was the lead artiste director, which allowed him to travel and work with salons in North America, Canada, Europe, and the Caribbean. In 2006, Benjamin took a leap of faith and moved back to Fiji, in which he operated an old Tangles Salon in partnership with Treehouse Boutique. Benjamin developed a partnership with local and major hotel chains with wedding destination focuses for Fiji's tourism market. Whilst he stayed in Fiji, he ventured into commercial work, where his work was featured with models on brochures from Air Fiji, Tappoos, Digicel, and Australia's Next Top Model in 2008. Upon returning to the USA in 2010, he began working in the education sector or cosmetology schools under the Paul Mitchell brand. Shout out Paul Mitchell. And he held effective leadership roles as education and sales director, developed curriculum modules, and trained Paul Mitchell schools in the area of business development. After 12 years, Benjamin switched gears and is currently working as the general manager for Landis Salons under the Avita brand in Salt Lake City, Utah. Shout out Salt Lake City. His work involves recruiting, hiring, training, marketing, and yes, he's still working his magic behind the chair with clients. Lastly, Benjamin has worked with teams at LAFW, LA Fashion Week, with the Lexington Fashion Collaborative, and NYFW, which I presume now is the New York, right? That's right. Fashion Week, worldwide. And he lives by his mama's quote that he says he lives each and every day through, is that failure is not an option. Welcome to the Coach V Show, your boy, Benjamin Powell. Benjamin, malo apito ho magi his studio ko ni ki Coach V Show. Welcome, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
So let's talk Genesis point. Where did Benjamin Powell start? Introduce us to your parents, and let's talk family before we get going on career.
Well, so my parents, my mother comes from Tonga, Tappoos. She hails from two sides in Tonga. Her mother is from a little island called Feremea in Hawaii. Yeah. So, and then her father comes from the Bloomfield family. So we have ties to Hihifo, Fatai, and Nuwalafa as well. And then my dad is from Fiji. His father's side is Samoan, Palangi, as well as Tongan. And then my grandmother, his mother, we are generations deep coming through our Tongan connection during the time of when the Chief Mafu was trying to conquer, and take over Fiji. So that is a bit of a background on my parents. We grew up in a little island called Ovalau, which is the old capital of Fiji. Levuka was on that little island. We migrated here to the U.S. back in 78, 79. So been here that long. I think I've been in the U.S. longer than I've been back home, but I've gone back and forth to visit both Tonga and Fiji. So strong connections still back to the islands. But yeah, that's a little bit of what my parents comes, from the organic part of the islands and how we ended up in good old America.
That's awesome, the land of opportunity. And talk to us about, when did you first have this feeling that this was your purpose? Fashion, design, artistry, and all that. When did you start to feel like this is my purpose?
Wow, that's probably, I think it'll go back to probably childhood. I probably will say, reflecting now as an adult, from just seeing where my course in life took me, I just wasn't a traditional student, right? So I wasn't, the kid that sat in math class and just like, oh, lights went off. I was very fidgety. I was always creative. Probably the kid that never shut up in class, which is why I am the way I am today. But I also just knew that traditional education wasn't something that, I think from an early age, I just knew I wasn't cut out for that. So I think when I got to graduation happened from high school, and my mom and dad were saying, what are you going to do? So I said, I don't know. They said, well, go to college. So traditionally, I think most of us who come from the island, our parents think that a degree is what takes you further in life, right? It's the American dream. It's what we only see and know. So I thought, I don't want to go and sit at a four-year college, listen to boring lectures, pay attention to these professors. It's just not my thing. And I needed something that I can engage and move.
Right.
So I started off at LA Trade Tech because when I was in high school, I was involved in a lot of fashion programs. So things that you could choose as far as extra courses. I always chose something creative.
Right.
And somehow, somewhere around that, I kind of figured out where I was going to be. Thought it was going to be in fashion, merchandising, and design, so I started off at LA Trade Tech. Well, there was just too much math. There was a little too much homework. It felt a little traditional. And then I just said, I don't like doing this. So I had a good friend that I went to school with. His name was Boogie. And Boogie went to cosmetology school. And the reason I didn't want to choose that path in the beginning, because I kind of already felt that was not going to be an achievement in my parents' eyes. Right? It was like, what do you do with a pair of scissors when you graduate? Are you just going to cut hair? How do you make a living? So I think that is when I started to realize my purpose was actually serving. I just had to figure out how to serve to make it a professional
Repeat
move.
that again, please, Benjamin.
Yeah,
Say that again.
I realized my purpose was serving. Right? So purposely trying to figure out where I could be best serving others is where I started to figure out my career path. So I think culturally, I think for all of us as islanders, that's a natural thing, right?
Yeah, real talk.
We're raised to serve other people. Presentation, things are done to a certain level per each area in our culture. So that I understood. But then I realized, well, that's a natural thing for us. That's what we do. But how can I take this to where I can do things professionally? So through working, I learned the purpose of serving guests was through my art and my craft, right? And then as that started to mold itself, mentors is what I started to run into that said, hey, you should try this. I think you'd be great for this. And I, of course, young hairdresser, didn't know that someone was trying to mold me into something that they probably saw that I was going to be great at.
Right.
And through that course of starting in '88 is where I started to realize if I just say yes, I'll probably be where I need to be, but I don't even know where the arrival is. I just know I keep moving. So kind of a full circle, I started off in LA, and I worked right off of Cannon, not too far from here, at a salon called Umberto's. I was an assistant for with five others to two hairdressers. And if you know Umberto's, it's quite high end. I thought it was quite nice for a young Polynesian kid from West Covina to catch the bus cross over into El Monte, change buses to the 490 LA, and get down here and get busy.
Wow.
So I learned a lot of the skill sets that I think I came with already, just got more refined, working for a very exclusive type of a service salon. And then after that, I moved on to two other salons that were here in Southern California. I worked for a salon in Uptown Whittier, and it was at that time a Vidal Sassoon, so it was a concept salon, cutting on one side, color on the other.
Right.
So just kept refining a lot of that. And through all of this, I think has led me to where I am today, honestly, by just saying yes, knowing that my parents, like they said, you know, in Tongan, ai ke a'o, right? Just get there.
Say it again.
Just do
Ai
it.
ke a'o.
Ai ke a'o.
Yeah.
O te ke fo'i, right? So that's why I think what my mom always said, you know, just do it. So that's where I'm at.
I love that. So talk to some of the more traditionally minded people, which is okay, because not everyone has the courage and the spirit to venture into the unknown with no guarantee. Because that's entrepreneurship.
Right.
That's trying to own your own brand, being willing to fail. Where the real deal here is value proposition to the marketplace. That's what life leadership in business is about. That if you have a value to offer someone, something, the market, you're going to get paid, right? There's not always just a traditional, you go get certified or get a degree. It's okay to be able to venture into some things. As I say that, what comes top of mind in terms of your journey?
Oh, I would say one thing I would probably say is putting my trust in what I'm doing, and then the conviction of being able to deliver. But I think one thing that I've always learned is humbleness, right? Is just being able to approach anything with an open mind. I know it's a cliche of a statement, but it is the truth.
Real talk,
So what
yeah.
I teach people in what I do now is that never think that you've arrived. Just know that you have to keep moving. The car keeps moving. There's a purpose of why you're keeping the wheel moving.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I always look at anything that I've ever gotten myself into, partnering with others or just within my own journey. I've always had that mindset of just being humble. I'm a very outgoing, very vocal person, but I also know when to retract and when to hold back, and I know when to keep it closed. So my ears are much more where I need to utilize.
Right.
So I think giving yourself that opportunity is probably my best part of where I have gotten through a lot of this, and also overcoming fear. You know, I look at things as well in the way that if I don't say yes to it, someone else is going to. So why say, gosh, I wish I did that? Just do it. You know, one thing I learned a lot with Paul Mitchell is failure is not an option. That is, you know, something that we used to look at as part of like the best way to be successful is to share what you've learned, right? So success unshared is failure, is what John Paul used to teach us.
Yeah.
So I look at that as part of what I feel I've been very lucky to just keep walking into just learn, just keep learning. And I'm not afraid to fail because I look at it as an opportunity versus it being an obstacle. I also look at life as that's what the course is going to be. So whatever your faith is, just put your trust in it.
Yeah, that's right.
And it'll lead you. My intentions are always to look for greatness in people. That's the way I look at things.
Right.
If the greatness is what I find in you, it's what I'm also learning most from you.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. As you paraphrased and talked about that in your experiences, there's two things that came top of mind. You already alluded to one of them. One is that if service is below you, high level leadership and success is above you too, right? That's one. So let's talk about service, one. And then two is that you are willing to bet on you, right? So those two concepts. One comes top of mind when I say that. If serving is below you, let's start with number one, then high level leadership and high level success is above you too if you're not willing to serve others. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's a really good way to look at it. I think you have to look at yourself where you're at on that scale, right? I think there are people who really want to be here, but let's put ourselves where we're at, right? And there's nothing wrong with finding and grounding yourself with that part, right? So one of the things I had learned and I value is first place myself where I'm at in life. right? Because the ambition to try and get there is going to be there, but let's take the steps to where I can do what I can do now to get there and be trusting of the process of itself. So for me, I think one of the things I would look at and value is, if you want to be here as a great leader, how can you be at best at serving, right? So the core principle of serving, right, is defined by what you do for others, not for yourself, is how I see it and how I feel you probably would be best utilized in any area that you do, is learn first how you can be best in the service of what you do for others before you think you can lead others. Because one thing I also have looked at is great leaders have followers. Right? Leaders that have followers are the ones who have taught people in life to be sustainable, how to be grounded, how to take care of where they're at. And I think those things that are called 10% shifts start to equal out to about 100, but start to know what your 10% shifts are from where you start off at. And I think that'll start to level out the scale of this being either too above you or this being too below you.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And then now, like betting on you, that anyone can try to become, do, and achieve what they want in life, leadership, and business. But every person that I've met like you and the accomplishments that I've had, those people and individuals, including myself, had to grant ourselves permission and authority to do, become, and achieve what we want, to empower ourselves, to grant ourselves that right, and then claim our rights and to take control of our life. So now become aligned and congruent with the goals and objectives we have with our daily habits, activities, routines. Am I anywhere in the realm of what you're talking about and what I'm asking you to talk about in terms of you have to bet on you? You have to give yourself permission. Yeah. You're not waiting around for other people to go, yes, we allow you to do this. You have to be pretty audacious and go do it for yourself, by yourself, bet on yourself. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, you're 100% on point. I think that is the one thing that people have to take that risk, right? Take the risk of betting on yourself, right? And I think the other part to it is do what you know you do best and don't listen to the noise in the background.
Say that again, please, for the audience.
Yeah. Without listening to the noise in the background. You know, something my mom used to say, you know, the noise in the background, that's the dogs that are barking. It's a Tongan
I might have phrase ko ya.
Is the dog
that are barking at night. Yeah.
Barking. You know.
Yeah, that's right. Attraction. They want to gain your focus, distract you from the prize. That's right.
Stay focused. So I try really to stay focused on what the line of getting there is going to be for me. But it's not about just me, it's what's going to affect other people. Because that's the most important thing. Again, back to what your first circle of conversation was, if you can't be a service, how can you be a lead? So knowing that core background about yourself, I think start first with your childhood. You know, what kind of household did you grow up in?
That's right.
Right? So I would say I grew up in a very loving, very strong, a very directed household, right? So they were goods that I look at all of that. I'm not one to paint pictures of, oh, it was horrible. I don't have time for that story. It's more about what was the good that my household gave me. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Right? My mom gave me the strong direction of making decisions, calling the shots, but make sure when you do something, how it affects other people.
Right.
Not just because it's for you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I look at things in that aspect. And if you make a decision and it's not a good decision, not the most wise, be the first to admit it, take accountability, and then fix it, right? And then go back into the drawing board and ask, maybe how can I do this different if it's going to be with others, right? Or question yourself, which is sometimes the hardest thing. What could I have done different that could make a better impact? And so those are the things that I think, if you kind of put yourself in that realm, you will, I think, always will be destined to be successful in no matter what you're doing or what you're going to go for.
So true. And you said something where you chose to reflect and anchor yourself in the positives of your childhood. And people are always asking me, like, how come you could stay so positive, right? In spite of the kavenga, the fatongia, is never ending when you're Tongan. And you're a person that chooses to subscribe to your culture and engage. Because a lot of people don't. And I just remind people that, well, can you tell me the last time that choosing to be fearful, to subscribe to negativity, your haters, or your own self-doubt ever amount to anything good? When has that ever? So talk about your perspective and staying positive, optimistic. Because to get where it is that you've got as a leading industry expert that comes from the South Pacific Islands in the world at what you do, all of us have had to fail to get to anywhere it is that we've been, right? But choosing optimistic faith, right? Whatever it is that you may be, is a lot more productive than subscribing to negativity, whining, complaining, blaming, subscribing to your haters or your own self-doubt. True or not true, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a good thought process. I choose to look at what's going to be the most positive, right? I may not be like the smartest person always in that kind of room.
I'm not that guy.
I'm always going to look for solutions. I'm always going to think. One thing that I also have learned about myself, I'm a very direct to the point, vocal kind of a person when it comes to addressing situations. But I also can say that might not be always the best approach.
Right.
But I also am aware of it, right? So I think it's who your audience is that you play into.
Real talk, yep.
Yeah. So that's something that I'm consciously aware of. But I will tell you, it's always better to choose where you're going to be uplifted. You know, it's very easy to get pulled down. Right?
Black hole, man.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. So I feel like it's really important to always focus. Like I said, the good of what I grew up in is I think what grounds me the most. One thing I do for myself is I always go home to the islands. Every year, people ask me, what's your favorite vacation spot? I always tell them I go home to Fiji. Because I can tune things off and I can choose when I need to tune on, what I need to stay in touch with the first world, the world that we're like, man, I'm just exhausted, right? So I go to Fiji, I take the shoes off, I walk on the grass, I walk on the sand, I just sit and I listen to what the beauty of that place reminds me to have. It's life. I also remind myself what I came from to what I have. Right? So I remind myself, what you're so upset about really is
yeah, that's
so
right.
Small.
That's right.
So I look around at the friends, the family members I have there. I actually enjoy sitting on the floor and eating fish and having bones in
with
it.
my hands.
With my hands.
Yeah, me too.
Or I like just getting up, wearing no shoes, and walking out to the bush and going for a walk into the vow.
Yeah.
Right? And just experiencing what you don't experience here. We're very spoiled.
That's right.
So for the grounding part of culture, I do go back home for that purpose, and I also am an islander who is an islander. I'm not an islander by identity. I'm an islander by culture. So yes, I understand the things that we have to deal with, from Kavenga to Fa'alavala. Everything.
No
it doesn't
question.
matter.
No
it's
question.
It's going to be part of your culture. I think it's how you choose to also look at those things. But I'm very culturally, engaged with that. But I go home, and I think that's something that I wish a lot of our island people would do. Kind of go back to your roots.
Yeah, that's right.
Appreciate maybe your third generation here, second generation here. Kind of know where you came from. So why are you here? How did you get here?
Yeah, that's right.
Right, because that's history that you can't change. That's actually what you came from. That is probably the identity that you don't understand yet.
That is so awesome. You are an islander who is an islander. I love that. Two things quickly, because we want to get to your fashion show.
Yeah.
We want to get to that. And I also want to get to your message to the world. But as quickly as you can, talk about two things. One is gratitude. Is what you were just talking about, is not only does negativity not amount to anything positive, but I've never seen being ungrateful for what I have: life, health, provision, protection, wisdom, family, and friends. I have never seen being ungrateful amount to anything productive. Okay, so that's one. Talk about how gratitude has been key in what you did, or if at all. And then lastly is how you care and have a genuine care and concern for other people is huge in business. That's not talked about a lot. That people don't give a shit what you know until they know how much you care. Especially at the highest level of business. People will do business with people they dislike if they respect them. But if they don't feel that genuine respect, care, and concern back, there's a no-go, there's no business transaction, let alone worrying about money and opportunity. So talk about those two things really quickly. How huge has gratitude been for you in your career? And then lastly, that you can genuinely be an islander, that I don't need anything for you. I care about you, and the opportunities that have come from being that. Come on, brother. Is that real talk or not?
That's real.
What are your thoughts, please?
Yeah, gratitude. I think for me, gratitude has always been the forefront in my household. That's something that I think I grew up with, right? Angafato kilalo. Right? And that's having a gratitude with knowing that you're grounded and being not just on the respectful level, but also on the acceptance level, right? And so
Say that again. Not only on the what? Say that again.
So not just on the respectful level, but just the acceptance level.
Real talk.
So the acceptance level, I would say, is where we stand in our Tongan community, right? Culturally, in our Tongan community, we have systems. So I know who my fahu is, right? So I know the respect of what that means, not just by title, but there is a deeper root of why you have that system in place.
Yeah, the checks and balances.
Checks and balances,
yes.
Right? It's how our fonua was operated, right? It's how our cultural system is operated. And so those things, I think, is where the humility and gratitude has always been grounded with. My mom is a very true Tongan woman that taught us the art of respect and humility and gratitude.
Yeah.
So for me, I
love
just take
that
into my professional environment. So I've worked only for 3 big companies, and with each of them, gratitude has been the main conversation, right? So right now I work for Aveda, and I work for their 2 largest account in Salt Lake City. So it's Landis Aveda Salons. And that's 3 areas that we look at is caring, growth, and gratitude. Those are the 3 core principles of what makes up our company when we look for people long-term. So I do the same, right? So because I come from already feeling the core gratitude and it's already in my fiber being,
right,
it's almost natural for me to pour that into my business world or my professional life.
That's right.
Because I look for that, and I think when people feel that, they know that you really care, right? And I also talk to them real talk. Right? I don't have superficial conversations. I don't just have numbers conversations. I want to know how you're doing, you know? Hey, well, how about that house you're looking to get, you know? How's your kid doing? Yeah. How's your dog? I remember when you told me you were getting a new dog.
Yeah.
So conversations like that, I think, are a matter of conversations that tunes people into knowing that you care, and I think that they know that you've listened, and that you're approachable. You know, and I think when you put all of that out on the table and you can have that conversation, something my staff knows this. I don't tell anyone I'm the GM. I don't want people to know my title. I just want people to treat me the way I would treat them. Because that's something in my workplace that I don't ever want people to know that I'm the general manager, right? I don't care if they know me as their boss. I don't even want them to talk to the clients about it. I just want them to know. I interact, I sweep the floor, I clean the bathroom, I do the numbers, I do all the averages, I manage from payroll to plumbing, and then I take care of everything that their needs are, but I interact at their level. So that makes it very easy for them to talk to anything that they feel that I should be someone that they can come to. So I think that is a really, form of action that really can put gratitude as part of like the conversation that makes it so much easier for anyone.
No doubt. Because so in a world of disruption in your industry, in the world of, this is the hack to be this, some of the younger folks start going, gratitude might be outdated. Never. And I just remind them never. So thank you for just talking on that. And as you were talking, I want to touch on one more, if you could just touch on it and we'll move on. It's just, you were talking about, and I was like, oh my gosh. So talk about creating buy-in versus what you just categorized as what I call winning hearts and minds. Because winning hearts and minds and having people feel like you really care for them as people, that will attract millions of more dollars than chasing, creating buy-in ever will. Every Fortune 1,500, 100 company, I coach, teach, and train 44 different industries across the world that I'm currently with, right? And I introduced that concept and they were like, man, we were doing that all the time. We never really called it winning hearts and minds. Where you get to the logical, but it's through care, concern that's genuine. Talk about the difference between that, and if there is one for you in your experience, creating buy-in and winning hearts and minds.
Well, that is a really good question. The thing to buy-in is actually you got to get to the heart first.
That's right.
So I am a people person.
Me too.
I'm a leader of what I want to make sure I'm feeling what you're wanting me to know.
Right.
Right. And so before I even pitch a buy-in or talk to you about anything that is going to be a new system or whatever it may be that we need you to believe in the direction of moving, company, personal, professional, I always want to sit down and get to know them first.
That's right.
So a major part of my work is creating buy-ins. But before I do the buy-in, I need to make sure the heart is felt.
That's
because
right.
Without them, I can't have what we have. Right? I can't run a company. I can't operate. Right? So there's no need for me to go put a buy-in of this is what I think we're going to be doing, blah, blah, blah. I need to have a very clear, precise strategy plan of anything that I do based on their needs.
Right.
Right? So the heart of getting to them first is number one for me, to know what their needs are, then develop a strategy plan that's so easy for them to understand. Now it's developed for them versus for me.
That's right.
And I don't like gimmicks. I am very realist. I talk to them specifically about what the needs are for them, and it's addressed in the terms that makes it best for them to feel they're in it to win it with me.
That's it.
My job is to really facilitate, right, and to lead them to be successful, to push them to be where they need to be. My job is not to force them. And that's the one thing I think when you're in a leadership position or you're an owner of any company, when people feel forced, they'll leave you.
That's right.
So one thing I've learned a long time ago from a seminar is people don't quit their job, they quit their boss. And they move on because they take the good of what they had with you and they may move on. So I think it's okay to have a self-reflection when things change and
That's
shift, right? So was the buy-in, was your main focus, or was it the heart first
That's
that you
right.
really got to know them? That's been a lesson that I've had to learn. I think with where life has changed, I think with the pandemic and all of that.
That's right.
Yeah, life is in a different scope, right?
That's right.
So getting to the heart of what their needs are is different from, let's say,
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, right? The world looked at life in a different perspective. It's
That's
a
right.
different lens. When that happened, it added filter.
That's right.
So now you have to figure out the filtering of where everyone's at in life post-COVID.
That's right.
And then you need to sit down and get to know them. So for me, I think it's one of those things that, take the time and get to know people versus trying to put something that's not going to really move.
That's right.
Because
That's right.
It's non-productive.
Great insights. I mean, engagement increases. This is what the Harvard Business Review says. Not me, not Coach V. Okay, I don't run these studies, but I know and felt and have experienced it's true. Engagement increases, retention increases, and productivity increases, profitability increases, and I can go on and on. Very good. 2 more items.
Yeah.
Okay, you got time? 2 more
time
items. Let's
for
do it.
you.
So, what's your message to the world? With all of the amazing experiences it is and the wisdom that you gathered, what would be Benjamin's Powell message to the world?
Well, no pressure. That's a world stage question.
Yeah.
I would definitely say be true to yourself, be open to learning, and just have no regrets, right? And just always put your best foot forward. I will always say when you see greatness in people, good things will come your way, right? I never chase the money.
It's so easy too, though, isn't
never
it?
chase the money.
Yep.
It'll all work itself out. I had to learn the hard way.
Yep,
right?
me too.
It's not perfect. I'm not sitting here on a platform to speak as if it's been that way for me. It hasn't. But I definitely would say trust the process. Put your faith where you need it the most, and believe that the process of what you're doing is going to lead you there. And be okay with the little failures that happens. I wouldn't be where I'm at. I mean, honestly, I left the company after 15 plus years to join another company. Did I have fears? Absolutely. I'm in my mid 50s. I'm thinking to myself, who's going to hire this?
You look good, by the way. You look really good.
I'll keep that going. But
yes,
yeah,
sir.
It's one of those things where you have to evaluate yourself.
Right.
I was worried. Older. It's a different generation that I'm dealing with, right? I'm in the beauty business. What's the image of today's generation that's coming into it? Will they listen to someone like myself? I think I'm just like anybody else, right? So I had to apply what I was just sharing to myself. So I took that and said, you know what? If you can preach it, then you need to lead yourself into it. If you can talk about it and you can talk to people about what you believe in them, start doing that for yourself. So
That's
my
a
life
great
is not
message.
perfect, but definitely for sure that's
Great
one thing I would
message.
say, yeah.
Great message.
Thank
Great
you.
message. I hope you guys have been taking notes here. And if you haven't, just go back on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel for Coach V, and just listen to that powerful message right there. That is huge. So lastly here, let's talk about upcoming projects. We got about 2 minutes. What are your upcoming projects and what it is that you would like the people to consider? And then how can people find you?
Yeah, good. Well, we have a huge fashion show that's coming up. It's going to be in Utah. We're hosting it in the state capital of Salt Lake City. So definitely for sure, we want people to know where they can get more information. We've been working on this project since September, October last year. So myself and Afa Alu, who is a well-renowned designer, has been on Project One Way. We're two island boys that just kind of landed luckily in the art world. So we're hosting a big show that's going to be in Salt Lake City, as I said, July 29th. It is in the Grand Pavilion that's going to be at the State Fairground in Salt Lake City. We do have a website, so it's under utahpacificfashion.com. That's where you can get tickets. Currently, right now, all our VIP tickets are sold out.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yeah.
But definitely for sure, we want to make sure that people are coming to this. I think this is the first of its kind to have a fashion show that's all hands-on Pacific Island produced and directed. We've all both worked in New York Fashion Week, LA Fashion Week, different fashion shows under a different umbrella. But for both of us, we are two Pacific Island people. He is self-taught, right? I don't even have a degree. And we are just two simple people who love what we do, and we love to share that with our community. And the concept of this show is to bring in all the designers. So we have almost about 18 designers coming in from Tonga, Samoa, New Zealand, and Fiji. And they're all of different various backgrounds in the South Pacific. And they're established. So what does that say to our American Pacific Island market? If they can do it with the lack of resources.
That's right.
The whole message of why Afa and I said, let's just put this together. Let's bring the people from back home, grassroots. Started with nothing and have something, but they've been working based on, like, I think our previous conversation.
Yeah.
So definitely for sure, it's a big show. We have a venue that fits about almost 600. We've got several things leading up to the show. So on Wednesday, we have a pop-up night market. So the designers are going to be set up to sell all their items. So it's open to the public, no cost. The show is going to be on Saturday, July the 29th. We also have a media night that's going to be on Thursday. So we are grateful for the community in Salt Lake, Pacific Islanders that have businesses, nonprofit organizations. We just put a word out on our social media platform, and the pouring of help just have come in.
That's awesome.
So we've been very fortunate, and we started with nothing. And you know, one thing that we both just kind of have to look at ourselves and go, how did we get into this? You know, and part of what we want to do is educate our community in a career that we think people don't speak about. Either you become a football player, right? Or you become an educated doctor. That's kind of the island mentality. Work at a bank, wear a jacket, look smart. But for us, we're just thinking, you know, why isn't it we don't talk about people that are in the hair industry or being entrepreneurs or maybe opening up your own brand, right? Being a designer, how can you expand yourself? So we thought we might as well take the opportunity, pour back what we've been taught into our community. But this is the first of its kind. So it's going to be definitely a huge, hopefully win for everybody. But we definitely are on the up and up, and we're ready to get it going.
This is the first
of its kind for a Utah Pacific all-produced show.
And then so this is going to be an annual event?
We are looking to continue this. So this is going to be just more of a one-day show. Next year, our plan is to expand and do different projects. So we're going to do workshops, education classes. Perhaps we'll lead it into professional, maybe development of some sort.
That's awesome.
And personal development, because I feel like our community has a lot to offer. We just need to learn how to cross those bridges together.
Right. Yeah.
And bring companies that can successfully set up our people. We're in a great place, so why not?
Yeah,
right?
why not?
The time is now, so.
Yeah, that is. So I lied. I got one more question, but you only got 15 seconds to answer it, right? All right. I land in Salt Lake City, Utah. Where am I going for lunch or dinner? Where?
Ooh, look at this guy. This guy right here.
Where are we going?
So if we land, I'll tell you one of my favorite places is Vultures. Yeah, Vultures is the small Italian-owned business that is probably maybe 45 to 50 seats in there. Very, I think, grassroots of what you would find from someone who came to Salt Lake and started from nothing.
Okay.
Great food, great ambiance, great service, and good overall.
Let's go
Just
eat
everything.
there. When I land, let's go eat there. We got to go eat there. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Brother Benjamin Powell, for coming on and sharing all of your valuable insight and experiences with us. And for Benjamin and I, it's just not for the sake of success that you would tune into a show like this, but really for the sake that you be your best. In doing so, you realize the best of your abilities and that everything that you dream, work, and pray for can be achieved. This is how your boy Benjamin and your boy Coach V lives, all about faith and family, grateful for God's amazing grace. Shout out again to Fame Cast, the creator brand accelerator space here in Santa Monica, California, for housing us for this week's show. And then shout out to Island City, where the beach meets the streets. Until next Mountain Motivation Monday, your boy and your boy, Malo Lele, Malo Alpito. Choo-hoo! Peace.